we just concluded talking about the mind, conscious mind, subconscious mind. Now what we want to do is there's some exercises that we sent you or that you have access to that you can download, and we want you to look through those exercises. And for example, exercise 3.1 talks about fears and worries. And so in the box and on the worksheet that we've given you, we want you to take some time. You can either stop the video, or if you're watching this from a recorded basis, if you're listening live, just kind of make a note that you want to come back to this and do this exercise 3.1. We want these exercises to be real to you in terms of the thing that you're dealing with. So exercise 3.1, we're talking about fears, doing fears and things that you worry about. A sort of a brainstorming of those things that, first of all, we want you to confront. We want you to identify those things that you worry about. And so using that form, write those things down that you tend to worry about, and don't sugarcoat it, don't filter it. Just spend a few minutes on doing it, and try to fill out as many blank spaces as you can on that. So completely, fully fill out that form in the exercise. You're going to find it to be very, very beneficial to you. And so once you do that, we want you to start to review this list. We want you to assign a number to it. And look at it and sort of give it a number between 1 and 10, and then determine how much do you worry about it. 10 being absolutely true if the thing that you worry about is absolutely true, and then a 1 if it's not true, or somewhere in between. You kind of believe it's true. Just go ahead and weigh that and look at that. So go through the whole list of things that you tend to worry about, whether it's true or not. And then what that's going to do is to help you to put a realistic assessment on the thing that you worry about. Of course, I'll say the thing that the Scripture tells you not to worry about. And I would add that you shouldn't worry about, because there are ways to deal with it, because most often you're going to find that the things that you tend to worry about are not true. And that's where we're headed, because once you identify it, write it down, get it on paper, and look at it, you're going to find that it's not true. That thing that you fear, the consequence, simply, most often, and there have been studies on this in terms of what people worry about and are overly concerned about, it's a single-digit number in terms of the things that actually come true. And those things that they worry about it's in the 75% range on that. And I'll try to find that study that I looked at and saw that happened on that. And so one of the acronyms about fear, you may have heard this one before, which says that, and it says false evidence appearing real. And that's what happens in a lot of small businesses. This is false evidence that appears real to you. Now, certainly, if it's your perception, sure, it feels real to you. But oftentimes, it's something that's holding you back and doing those things that we talked about earlier to you that waste your energy, it wastes your time, it wastes your effectiveness in terms of getting the things done that you need to get done in your business. You've got to be bold. You've got to step out and be bold. You've got to think big and be bold in terms of getting the things, reaching the levels of success and abundance that God has called you to that place that He's called you to. The average person can stay where they are. They can stay in their comfort zone. But you're special. And you want to do those things that God calls you to do. And as you start to think those positive things, focus on how big God is, focus on the solutions, the positive things that can come as a result of whatever it is that you're encountering. Think about all the good things that could happen, rather than focusing on all the negative things that can happen that cause fear. Look at the positive things that can happen from that particular thing, and it will carry you forward. And act on that. Allow that to encourage you going forward, because dealing with fear is such a key issue that it just has to be dealt with. Procrastination is a cousin of fear too. Don't procrastinate, because those are just excuses not to deal with the situation that'll help you to move to that next step. Don't rationalize. That's another thing. Rationalization is another issue that causes people to be stopped dead in their tracks oftentimes. So don't rationalize. or give yourself an excuse to think that, or a reason that you shouldn't take these steps and take this massive action toward getting the results that you've already laid out in your plan, the goals that you've already set. You set those goals. You set dollar goals. You set goals for employees, lifestyle, everything that you want to do. Set those goals to reach there, but you've got to take massive action because the clock is ticking, and keep a sense of urgency about doing that. Okay? Now, let's, one other thing I want to mention to you in terms of the action plan that you develop for that, and I called it an anti-Meyer action plan, and that is, and you know what Meyer is, and there's a scripture that talks about how he lifts me up out of the muck and the mire and places my feet on solid ground. Well, when I talk about Meyer, what I'm talking about is you want to think about those things that you're fearful of, or those things that can impede your progress to reach your goals. And we talked about the anti-Meyer action plan last week. And one of the reasons we talked about it then was because we were preparing you to deal with it and talk about it more in this session, because that plan can help you overcome a lot of things that you may be fearful of. And what the anti-Meyer action plan does is take the goals that you've set for yourself, whatever they may be. You list those things on one side of this particular plan, and then on the other side of the chart, you've got a chart that was a part of the workbook that you were sent to use. So on the other side of that, list things that could potentially cause you not to be able to reach your goals, things that may get in the way, things that you may be fearful about that might happen. List those things on the other side. And what we're going to do below that chart is then talk about, are those things really true? Or, not or, but actually in addition to that, once you list those two items out, then you want to develop strategies to deal with those things in the list. If they are true, then what are the solutions to those things that could get in your way? So you've got the goal, you've got what could potentially stop you from reaching your goal, and the third thing is you've got a list of those things that you can do to overcome those challenges that you listed that might stop you. Now that's a game changer for a lot of people. That's been a game changer for a lot of people, to actually sit back and think about what those things may be. It could be something simple like having to care for an elderly parent, or I've got to spend more time with my children, or my current job won't give me the flexibility to do the things that I want to do. It could be anything like that. I mean, it could be I need to reduce some debt before I can actually get started on my business. I need to get my personal debt lined up. And so those are things that could stop you. And below that, and you also put what are the strategies that you can use to deal with those things that could potentially stop you. So you've got a plan already in place. It's just a matter of execution on that plan when you've identified those things out there. There's only so many things that are going to be able to stop you anyway. So you may as well identify those and prepare a plan to deal with those. And then you don't have any excuse not to be successful and make lots of money in your business. So let's develop that anti-Meyer action plan. And that's what it looks like here on the next slide that I've shown you, to list those actions that you can take that may cause you, that create problems for you in terms of keeping you from reaching your goals. Now, one of the things about transforming your doubt into, and fears is, is the thing more likely to be true or not true that's bothering you? We talked about this a little bit. Is it really true? Now, if you think it's really true, then I would say prove it. Tell me more about why is this true, and what's the harm that it's going to do? What's the actual harm that that's going to be inflicted on you if it actually does that? Because you can easily say, well, yeah, this is true, but the question is, what's the harm that's going to be inflicted on you when you start to identify those things? Because you don't want to be play games with yourself. You want to be realistic about those things that you are fearful of, and get an accountability partner. Have someone in your business or someone to be an accountability partner to bounce these things off, because another person would be more objective to tell you, wait a minute, now you know that's not true. That can't happen, so why are you worried about that? No, that's not quite right. So if you need an accountability partner, and I would say get one, you should have an accountability partner for a number of phases of this, because that's going to help you and give you someone to bounce things off as you go through and start to make these plans. And so what it's all about transforming your belief system in terms of dealing with those things that are fearful for you. You've got to look at those belief systems, and we talked about that a little bit earlier. And so in the workbook, we've got some other exercises that you can take a look at. Now, as we begin to wrap up, I want to mention one last portion here.